We are live.
All right,
All
hello
right.
and good evening. It's 5 o'clock on April 23rd, and this is a meeting of the Hampton-Wilbraham Regional School District Policy Subcommittee. In attendance, we have myself, Cheryl, are you here?
I'm here.
All right, Bill Bontempi, are you here? Oh, not here yet. We'll see if he ends up joining us, and we have some members of the community, which is awesome. All right, let's do allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bill is stuck in a meeting and he will try to call in when he can, but right now he's no.
Okay, so today on the agenda, we have some policies that were referenced by this, I think I have the wrong, it's not IJNDB though, right?
No, I would say it's IJNDC is the one that we were cross-referencing with those three policies.
Okay, and that's the one that you sent this afternoon,
It's in that packet
that you sent,
that I sent, the IJNDC,
IJNDC.
acceptable use of digital resources.
Okay, so that wasn't posted properly, so we won't be, we'll discuss that policy, but we won't be voting on it tonight. So we'll go first to GBEE. So we have three policies, and tell me if I have this wrong, John, that are going to be new policies for our school district, right?
That's correct.
All right. Oh, and speaking of new policies, before I forget, so one of our teachers reached out to me. She was listening in on our last meeting and this one, asking about artificial intelligence and if we're doing anything. This was Georgina Trevi. I guess her and a few other teachers are in a training workshop on AI. So I'm not sure it's appropriate for policy. I mean, we're not in a place to have that yet, but I mean, obviously there's a problem in regards to AI, and maybe, do we have any current plans on how to deal with AI? Not that any school district may have plans in
I was
Massachusetts.
going to say, I would feel better if we started from the top and went down. Does Desi have any plans?
Okay.
So I'm just going to say that I'm making these comments under the context of use of technology and instruction, because that's what's on the agenda tonight, rather
Yes.
than AI. I have not seen any model policy language around AI. I did, however, follow up as was requested after the last meeting and ask why the language of the new policies is somewhat less prescriptive than the old. And did get the response from Liz LaFawn that it's because the technology is changing so quickly that we feel it's better to be more broad than to try to list all the things that could go wrong. So there's that. I can share that additionally, sort of outside of the policy realm, that Springfield College has been working with some of the teachers at high school, and actually did a training during our last professional development day, sharing resources that they're using to try to use AI appropriately to enhance instruction, which also means sort of thinking about some of the dangers and teaching kids about the dangers of misuses of AI. But I would say honestly the essence of that conversation is they're having a real hard time at the higher ed level getting their hands around it, and I would say we are too.
Okay.
I did interestingly see finding this shared Google Doc from one of the trainings I went to on AI that has all of the, well, not all of them, but any college professor can submit their AI policy to it, not just at Springfield College, but any college professor around the world. And the policies are all over the place, from professors saying this is strictly forbidden, if I find out you're using it, you're going to fail, to I think this is an incredibly useful tool and you'll learn how to use it in this course.
Okay, all right. Now, I thought that, and we'll I guess we'll move to the policy, but I think that conversation ties in nicely to the response you got back from them, in that making these policies more general instead of so specific, and having things in there like ethically use and follow code of conduct and stuff like that, I think is good. All right, so the first new policy, we're talking about GBEE, which is the personal use of technology. Yes, and this comes up in this one, and every other one, actually, I think every single policy today, all have a statement. All staff must agree to and sign an appropriate digital use form prior to being granted access to district digital resources. So I wrote here to ask the question, do we have the digital use form, and are people signing?
We do.
We do, and people are signing it even though it's not in any of our current policies.
Well, actually, I think we do have it in one of our current policies. I'm not sure if it is IJND, which is the one we're not talking about today, but we do have one that, current policy that talks about people using it. This came up most recently as we had a member of our administrative team change and was granted access to the district's electronic resources, but only after signing the acceptable use agreement.
Oh,
Yeah,
I do think it might be.
I think it's that one, John, that you mentioned. I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
It's that, it's in their packet.
okay, so, all right, so this policy is in regards to people who work for the school district, and it talks about acknowledging that as part of your job. It may be necessary, may be beneficial to have access to electronic resources, and I don't know, should I be reading the whole thing since it's a new policy, or?
It's your pleasure. There's no requirement, but if you wanted to, because you felt it was important, you certainly can.
Well, I guess I'll just continue paraphrasing it. So it talks about needing to sign the form, digital use agreement, which I think is a great part of the policy, because people formally acknowledging that they understand that there's some kind of code of conduct and the way that they're supposed to behave. Let's see. Accounts that are created need to be done along with the faculty advisor. And when interacting online, we also want to have faculty members involved. That's in there. And then, it ends, and a lot of them end with failure to uphold the responsibilities above is misuse, which may lead to disciplinary action, or some of the other policies say consequences. I'm assuming that's just a broad statement where the appropriate supervisor would make a judgment call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, which I think is appropriate. I don't have any issues with adopting and adding GBEE. I think it's kind of like everything we're talking about. I think it's either all come in or none come in, and I think it's all come in. Do you know, John, is this redundant to something that we already have?
Well, it covers a lot of what is eliminated from policy IJNDC, which I know there was some conversations about concerns. This has come back in other policies. And it does in this one, which is cross-referenced in this. Somehow this must have been in between memos. If I look at it, I see it's a 2023 policy, I believe. So, so I would say it's redundant with what's currently the IJNDB. However, if we make the changes to IJNDB, then it won't be redundant. It'll just move from that policy to this policy.
It could have been that last year the policy subcommittee decided not to adopt it because they felt it was redundant to the other policy.
I don't think that was the case. I don't think we ever discussed this one last year.
I don't believe you did.
So, I mean, so we're not going to make the changes but anyway, I'm in favor of adding this policy. What do you think, Cheryl?
I'm just looking at that second sentence, and when I read this over a couple of days ago, it kind of caught me too. As such, the school committee expects that staff will use technology as provided. So person doesn't wanna sign this, if the teacher doesn't wanna sign this and has her own laptop and wants to bring that in, because on it she has all kinds of things she's worked out, is this a must? You must do it? Because I don't see anything about must.
She won't have access to the internet. She's not gonna get the Wi-Fi passcode
They
unless
don't even get an
she signs
email,
the
right?
digital
They don't
use.
even get an email, Cheryl, like,
Yep.
we can't assign them an email.
And they are required to use the district email because of privacy and security reasons. So they really don't, they really
That's right.
can't do their job unless
Yeah.
they choose to sign the digital agreement. Right?
So,
Right?
just in terms of good communication, then, is this the only sentence that would alert a staff member that they have to do it?
Well, I mean, there is a sentence that say,
Expect
all
staff
staff must agree to and sign an appropriate digital use form. So that's the
Okay.
third paragraph is right there. Says it in black and white, all staff must.
Okay.
It's pretty black and white there.
So that was my only hangup, is that it seemed from a cursory read, it was kind of, we want you guys, we're magnanimous in giving this to you for your work. But yes.
And it's not out of the, like, I just signed a digital use agreement for Shriners Children's Hospital where I work, and I've signed one at, I don't think this is unique to school districts. I think that this is kind of,
Right.
a universal kind of thing that employers are asking employees to do as part of, everybody protecting security and privacy and rights and.
Yeah, because it will impinge on what we just started talking about, which was AI, and how does artificial intelligence interface with the computers, and what training do the teachers need?
Well, we're not gonna, so there's, AI is not specifically mentioned in any of these policies, but I imagine our school district, like many, will eventually adopt a strategy, for lack of a better word, for dealing with AI, whether it be teaching the students how to use it, telling the students that they're gonna be failed if they do get caught using it, which, of course, we have no really way of very well detecting it, so, except the longer you have them right, the more obvious it will be that they used AI. Like I remember from,
Not if you're using your own, it learns your own writing style if you want it to.
but I watched a lecture at the MASC meeting, and they started out, was it something about a beaver? They were writing a report on some beaver, about a school's mascot. And they were asking AI, and it starts out being accurate, right? Because it predicts the next most likely response to come in. Starts out accurate, but then like each statement the AI makes, then it predicts the next most likely response. And so before you knew it, it was like, I think, MIT had a mascot that wasn't the mascot that they had, right? So the farther you let it go, you go off the cliff.
Yeah.
And then, so like,
Have a hallucination.
so if it's a couple sentences, but if it is something that's supposed to be based off of accurate facts, it would seem to me that if it was longer than a paragraph, or even a good paragraph in length, by the end of the paragraph, there were gonna be mistakes that could be a tip-off.
I know college students writing full papers using AI. All you have to do is run it through another system that's gonna read it. We used to use, InternMe, or there were all the catching where they would run all the papers, they were gonna give you the percentage. I don't even think that might, I know when it comes to videos, the hands are weird. Like AI, you can tell with hands, sometimes with the verbiage or the punctuation. But the farther you get, the harder it's gonna be, and it's gonna be all encompassing, so really making any policy besides being appropriate with it is gonna be hard.
Right, which is why policies, like this policy has good things. Employees shall use digital resources in a responsible, efficient, ethical, and legal manner in accordance with the mission of the district. So I like statements like that.
To
But,
specify better, AI can be part of anything at this point, and they have it
Right.
in almost everything, so making anything more specific is probably gonna be a detriment.
Hey, Bill, do you wanna
Yeah.
jump on?
I agree with that. What do you think, Cheryl?
Yeah,
Do I have to tell Mary, like, do I say something to Mary?
I think timing's gonna be everything, as to when we start to find out about the AI, and how we can use it
You're on, Bill.
make a policy on it, because even here, it says all,
Excuse me,
all
Cheryl,
use-
just on the top, Bill's on speakerphone. Bill Bontempi is on 6:15, thank you.
you were talking about my husband.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, Bill, we're all done, we just approved everything.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
All use must comply with the policies and procedures.
So Bill, right now we're talking about GBEE. So this is one of the policies that would be a new one for us to adopt. And, you know, the combination of these policies is, you know, does overlap a great deal with the policy that we're the policy from the last meeting that we're likely to adopt that has a lot deleted out of it, the specifics.
That was the AUP.
Yeah,
Mhm.
AUP
Yes.
is the authorized use.
Yes, and John also shared with us communication back from the MASC. He asked them why they were recommending the choppage and the broad, and basically, the thought process at this point is to broaden the language as much as possible because the technology is changing so fast. Anything that's specific is gonna be out of date and not useful. Which is kind of along the lines of what we were thinking at the last meeting might be the reasoning.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at that policy a few times in the last couple of weeks, and I mean, I didn't find anything that was, and I know that was a specific discussion that we had, was, you know, was there things that were going to be outdated or things that were no longer relevant? But I didn't see anything. I mean, they were talking about, you know, sending hopes emails and things like that. So I was a little, I guess I was just a little questioning a little bit as far as, you know, what what specifically they were looking at. Are they looking to broaden the language so that it is more widely open to interpretation? I guess I'm just.
So I think the broadening of the language just makes the more specific language not necessary. Although like we discussed, we could always opt to add the broad language and not remove the more specific language. You know, make it a either or, not a one or the other kind of thing. But by a paperwork error, we can't act on IJNDC today because it was put in the agenda with a typo incorrectly, the wrong lettering. So we can't. So we can act on the referred policies, which is we've been talking about GBEE, but we can't act on IJNDC. Although I think it's fine for us to discuss it as it relates to the other policies, but we're just not going to be able to vote on it today. We're just going to have to wait till the next meeting. So the GBEE policy, did you get a chance to look at that one?
I gotta pull it up, hang on.
So this is the personnel use of technology, which is a very good photocopy of student use of technology, right? There's the GBEE.
And there's community use, so it's like all the three of them.
All three of them very similar. The major question I had was they all talk about signing a data use agreement, or I should say a digital use form. And John confirmed we do have a form. It's already in use. Everyone has to sign it, and there's not really any option in regards to that.
Right.
So right now, I mean, in terms of GBEE, I'm fine going ahead with the policy as written. Cheryl did ask the question about, the wording sounds like you kind of have to do it, but I don't see any other option. I mean, they have to, they do have to sign the digital use form. I mean, they have to sign it to get an email account. They have to, so I mean, there's not really any option, you also I commented that, like the Shriners Children's Hospital had me sign one, and the other hospital I work for, this isn't just a school district thing, it's like businesses all over the place do this.
We have our staff sign it for our office. So
Yeah.
They have to sign the exact same document. So yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Okay. All right, so then, am I looking for a motion to accept GBEE?
Can I just ask one more question?
Oh, yes, anything you want.
Just in terms of staffing, when interacting with students online, group interactions are encouraged and should include 2 staff members. One-to-one interactions should be avoided. I do believe one-to-one interactions should be avoided. But I know that when COVID first started, people were deluged by one teacher with 60 kids online with them. I don't know if there's going to be any structures as to how you plan the interactions with students online with 2 teachers. And what the staff is premium anyway.
What do you think, Joe?
Well,
Yeah.
we're not doing a lot of online instruction now, so I don't see that as a real concern. I think that what this is really about are wanting to make sure that you have an ability to have another adult there, should there be questions about the interaction. So sometimes, sometimes this is done by including an administrator on an email, a CC. Sometimes it's done by CCing the parent of the student involved, so that there's just not that one-to-one interaction. And I'll say it's a should, it's not a must. People do sometimes have individual conversations with kids online, but when they do that, they're putting themselves at higher risk that could be misinterpreted, and because you don't have a second set of eyes there necessarily.
Oh, yeah, so it's not a requirement, it's encouraged and should, so it's
I think it would be something for when we hire new staff to go over.
We do an annual training with staff that has to do with boundaries, and so I think that goes to that point.
Do you think you should add at the end of that sentence, just put a comma if possible? The only reason why I say that is because this like what you just discussed is, it makes sense to me, but it might not be feasible in all applications, or it might not be feasible just personnel-wise.
well, yeah, but it already just says it's encouraged. So it's not hard and cold fact, it's not a must, it just uses words like encouraged and should, which means that if you don't, it's okay, but like what John said, you're just putting yourself at risk.
Right, the next sentence says one-to-one interaction should be avoided.
Should,
Should and shall are very close.
yes,
It doesn't give you much in the way of leeway. Should you have a situation in which you do have a one-to-one interaction, and John said that there are situations in which that might not be avoidable. So this right here would put somebody at risk of violating the policy if they did go one-to-one. Even though the previous sentence says group interactions are encouraged, this specifically lists out one-to-one interactions. So I don't know. I would say if we wanted to at least provide some leeway in the policy, I would put at the end of this, I would put comma if possible. That way, if there is a one-to-one interaction, it's appropriate, but you're not in a situation where you're telling people you can't do it, because otherwise you're going to have kids that are setting up, possible meetings with teachers, and you don't have somebody that can start the conversation, the third party, and I mean, you're going to have a hard time getting shit done if you get stuff done if you don't.
well,
if you don't have that
I
in
think
the
John
policy.
wants to comment, Bill.
I don't know why I like what I'm going to say better, but let me say, how would you feel about as much as possible? Because I'm just thinking about there are times when a student will write an email to a teacher, can you tell me what homework I'm missing? I really don't have a problem with the teacher saying, yeah, you need to do chapter 4 questions at the end, and you have a quiz to make up.
Right, the modified, right. The operative word is possible. Can be if possible, as much as possible, and to the extent, to a reasonable extent possible. The word is possible because then at least it provides a bit of cover, because, like I said, then you're basically, with this sentence, the way that it's written is it essentially excludes any one-to-one interaction. shall and should are very similar terms, so I would say if you could just modify it to say if possible, then it makes it easier.
So would you be comfortable with one-to-one interaction should be avoided to the extent possible?
I like that.
Or as much as possible.
Okay, or as much as possible?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept this policy as amended?
I move to accept it
All right,
as amended.
do I have a second?
Second,
All those in favor? Cheryl?
Aye.
Bill?
aye.
Myself? Aye. Okay, policy JICJ. This is student use of technology in schools, somewhat parallel. Acknowledges students should be able to use technology because it's going to be part of their adulthood, so they should be prepared for that. Talks about the signing of the digital use form. And if the students are less than 18, the form has to be signed by a parent or guardian as well. Talks about them using the resources in a responsible, efficient, ethical, and legal manner. I like that. They need to abide by the district code of conduct, both online and offline, which I think is appropriate. And I think this sentence is interesting. Students are reminded that there is no expectation of privacy in the use of district digital resources. So obviously, Big Brother is watching as appropriately so for monitoring for behavior. And then this, instead of it being then the last, instead of there being disciplinary action, there's consequences for the students. I am okay with this policy as written. I don't know, what do you guys think?
I'm fine with it.
The one question that I have is, and I guess this goes to data mining. So when we talk about the expectation, the notification of privacy in the use of digital resources, should we be a little bit more specific about that? Simply because, there is a concern from parents and teachers alike about the concept of data mining and pulling information from students. I don't know if you guys feel strongly about that or not. That's the one thing that stood out to me on this policy was, how much information. I know Sean Kennedy has an awful lot to say about the concept of data mining and pulling information. So
I think data mining is kind of outside of the scope of this policy, Bill. I mean, we're just saying that, they shouldn't be expecting that anything they say are doing online is private, which is actually also has nothing to do with the school district. Anything you do online is not private.
Does any of the school technology record voice or anything like that? Because by mass law, you do have the right to reasonable privacy even in a workplace of your vocal, and I think it's, I have to look back up the number.
Recordings, video recordings are covered in a separate policy. I don't think we have any policy that authorizes us to secretly audio record because that's illegal anyway, right?
Yeah, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
like what, that is very open-ended and that can mean anything, so specifically, are there things that are excluded? Like what do we have the right to reasonable privacy? What do our children have the right to? Just saying they don't have the right to anything.
I would say in school, on their electronic device, I don't know, is it unfair to say they have really no right to privacy for what they're doing on a school
No,
Chromebook?
I
in
agree,
the
I'm
school
just
building,
saying
on
the
the
way
school
that it's
internet?
written.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, do you wanna, there's places and ways for it to be left open-ended is all I'm saying.
So the district does use filtering software, it does use monitoring software. That is different than the issue of data mining, which I will get to in a second. But I do like the fact that this is somewhat broader. It's not saying that the district is the one that's doing the potential invasion of privacy. Anytime you're on the internet, you're being monitored by other things. You have cookies and things, and like, you ever put a cookie blocker on your thing, you get like 300 cookies that are already there. So, you know, I think that's what the statement means, not necessarily that the district is the one who's doing the privacy. We do try to, and this goes to the next thing that you were talking about, Phil. This is the policy we're not talking about today, but the policy IJNDC does reference the Children's Internet Protection Act and the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. So I'm not experts in those areas. If we want, maybe we should have Bill come to the next meeting, but we do have to make sure that the products we're using are compliant with SIPA and COPA, because that is part of our eligibility to receive E-rate, which is lower internet charges for education.
One of the policies we're discussing today includes that, or it's the one that we're not discussing?
Yeah,
It's the one that we're not discussing,
Okay.
talks about.
And one of the ones that we are discussing actually mentions is in a footnote as well.
Okay. So I like that sentence even more, that you pointed it out, that the perspective of the sentence doesn't assume that it's the school that would be violating or having there be, you know, a misconcept of privacy.
Right.
So, which is, I think, good to have in the policy, and also a great thing to make sure that we're teaching the students.
As a practical matter, I'll say one of the things that administrators deal with on a very frequent basis are students sending messages to other students that they assume are private, that turn out not to be private, and then become problematic because they weren't private.
Oh, you mean like they do a reply to all instead of just a reply?
I mean, like they do a Snapchat and they think that it's going to disappear, but someone takes a snapshot of it before it disappears and then sends it around to
Yep.
other students.
Yeah, I thought Snapchat went away.
No,
TikTok's the one they're trying to ban, yeah.
I think
Well, they're trying to
went
ban
away
TikTok
today.
across the country, right?
In the
They did.
Ukraine, yeah, and the
Today,
funding
I'm
bill
pretty
it
sure
passed
today.
the first.
So, interesting topics, but beyond the scope of our policy. And
The reason why I brought it up is simply because when we talk about expectation of privacy, I know what the policy is getting to and saying that it's the expectation, there shouldn't be any expectation of privacy on the student's behalf, whereas the school can be looking at. But the question is like you said, it's the internet, right? So other people can be looking at, other people can be using that network to mine data. I know when we had this discussion a while ago, I remember when we were talking about setting up the email using Google, and the discussion was pretty lively, and Sean was really the one that had a lot of objections to it, only because this is how a lot of these companies make their money, is they mine data and sell it. And so when we talk about this policy, we're talking about there's no expectation of privacy. I just don't want that to serve as an invitation that that there are companies out there that could potentially get into the network, access their computers, access their computers through the network, and then mine data directly from them. So I don't know. I probably would say, because I don't know that much about it, but I would say maybe if we got Bill involved in this, just to ask him, how do we think this plays out in terms of the access of individuals to the network. Like I said, the only thing that I am just, the only thing
Well,
that
yeah,
I'm
but we
concerned
have
about-
separate policies in place for network security that we've already, I think we've done. Haven't we done the security policies?
I want
John?
to say yes, but
Because this is not that old in my memory. And, I mean, whatever data is mined by Google, because we subscribe to their system, is, I'm sure outlined in the contract that was probably 200 pages long that the school district signed with Google. They're gonna do what they're gonna do that's allowed to them in that contract. And if they violate it, well, then they're violating the contract. I don't think that we need to get legally involved on this. That's my opinion, but, so Cheryl,
Yeah, I agree.
if, if you think we need to get legal involved, but, I mean, I like the statement the way it's written, and,
As opposed to
You
having
know,
some policy.
and I think it's a good thing for our students to be taught and to understand that, unfortunately, no matter what you do online, it is not gonna be private. And there are people out there looking, and there are people collecting data, and it's a good lesson for them to learn for their life, and hopefully they'll learn it the easy way instead of the hard way one day by something that could be
Yeah.
personally or professionally embarrassing.
I didn't make the discussion to get any legal involved. I was just, I mentioned Bill Powers.
I think having Bill at the next meeting is a good idea, but also, we did discuss this, it's policy EHAA, District Security Relating to Technology. That one is actually on for a third reading this Thursday.
Okay,
EEAA, did you say?
EHAA.
EHAA.
okay. All right, so we're gonna have Bill at the next meeting for when we discuss IJNDC. If he's available.
I think we should just schedule for a time when we can make sure that he can be here.
Okay.
And it's the one that I did put on, IJNDC.
Yeah. So do we wanna table this one? Or do we wanna table this one and the next one? And then we'll just discuss them at the next meeting? We will have only passed one policy for the meeting, but.
Yeah, I'd just like to see what he has to say about, how much access.
I mean, the thing is, these are all linked to each other, so,
Yeah, for the guy that administers IT for the district, to have him involved in this discussion, I think would be more than appropriate.
okay.
God forbid you set up a policy and then, this is what he does, right? So if we're gonna set a policy, we wanna make sure that the IT director is certainly aware of the policy and aware of any potential snags in the policy. And I said, it's not something that I've thought out in the much broader scale, but just in terms of that one statement, it just makes me a little nervous, because if you have a third party that goes into the network and is, for whatever reason, capturing data off of students' laptops and then using that data, our policy basically, this would actually run. I don't have EHAA in front of me, but if you have a policy that is set up that says there is no expectation of privacy, maybe if we reference EHAA to say within the scope that it's not that the school has every right to monitor everything that runs through the network, but it's the district. It's not any other third party that hasn't contracted with the district.
I'm just looking for EHEAA, see if I can find it quickly. Which one did you say it was? EHAA?
Yes.
District Security, okay, so I do have that here. EBC. getting there. EHAA, District Security Related to Technology. Protection of the data and technology is vital in supporting learning and resources, information, learning activities, interpersonal communications, research, training, collaboration, curriculum and materials. School committee recognizes data and information as resources that must be protected from unauthorized access or use, and, as such, supports a balance of security and access. The committee expects district staff, student, and family data to be protected by adequate controls, commensuration with the sensitivity of the data. The committee directs the superintendent to develop and maintain an effective district data protection system of procedures for the protection of sensitive district information. Such procedures should protect the confidentiality, availability, and integrity of district information. So this is a new policy we don't have in place right now in the district, but we might have in place after Thursday.
Then can we cross-reference this policy with that one?
Sure.
I think that would suffice, because that policy is well written.
Yes.
If we pass that policy, we can make the change pending approval at the next meeting. Then we could make the change to this policy, just cross-reference it, and that should suffice.
Okay.
Seems like forever ago we did that policy, but.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
that's-
was, I can tell you, it was on February 29th,
Yeah, so 2 months ago, right?
so. What do you know, using the iPad is paying off.
That's right.
It really,
So we'll add that to the list of policies cross-referenced.
All right. The only question is, do we want to add a statement that, there's no expectation of privacy in the use of district digital resources, except that which is implied by policy EHAA. I don't know if we want to put that there or not.
I don't think we'd be able to list it yet. We wouldn't be able to make a formal recommendation. I think we should put it.
Oh, we'll just wait. Well, let's just wait till our next policy meeting, and then EHAA will be a policy, so.
Yeah,
And we can discuss it
that way
with
at
Bill.
least you're- Yeah, because we're referencing a policy that doesn't exist yet.
Yes,
Right, on our policy books.
correct,
Okay.
correct. But it should, unless somebody jumps up and screams, "No, don't read that one, Mike." All right, very good. So that's everything that we've got on our agenda, right? So we need to now set the next policy subcommittee date, right?
Did we decide to delay KDC?
Oh, let's look at KDC. Maybe we can do KDC. Community use of digital resources. Maybe we can do this one. This is the shortest of them all. On recommendation of the superintendent, in conjunction with the director of tech, shall determine when and which computer equipment, software, and information access, including use of wireless internet systems, will be available to the community. Those using the district systems as a member of the community must abide by the district's procedures regarding responsible use. All guests will be prompted to and must accept the district's digital use form before accessing the district network. And the superintendent may revoke access at any time. I think it's straightforward. I guess I bring up for discussion on here one thing. None of our schools have a guest Wi-Fi, correct?
This one has guest Wi-Fi.
Minnetonka has a guest Wi-Fi.
I believe
Actually,
they
I
all
think
do.
they all are connected to the same
No, I don't think
guest
it's,
network.
I don't,
No.
it's not the same password, John, but, because this would,
So,
the
Okay.
username and password is different, but yes, there is.
because like some of the schools are like cell phone dead zones,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure if we would, I don't know. So I'm assuming we don't have guest Wi-Fi like at the middle school, because we don't want the kids on it.
No, I
But,
think
you
we
know,
do
like-
have it.
Huh?
I think we do have it in the middle school. I'm not 100% sure, but I think, like for presenters and other people who come into the district, they can connect to the guest network, I believe.
So you have a guest network that has a password, that has this, but not one that anyone can go on.
Not an open one.
Not,
Correct.
yeah, you have to have the password, and
There
we
has to be
change
a
that.
password.
Because if
They
someone
change it.
comes to the middle school, say they wanna use the, gymnasium or the auditorium at, on a Saturday for something, they would need a password to get onto their, laptop to do their presentation. There is a username and password for that.
Got it, okay, all right,
But
cool.
you're right, the kids are not supposed to use it, and they can't just get on without that password.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, I mean, this policy is written, I don't have any issues with. I don't know, what do you guys think?
No, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, covers the bases.
All right, well then I might be looking for a motion to accept, adopt.
I move to adopt, policy KBC.
Second,
All right, roll call vote. Bill,
yes.
Cheryl,
Aye.
me, aye. All right, KDC accepted. Look at that, we got 2 policies done today.
I have it posted, so I could put it on, I guess, John, if you wanted me to. I haven't posted, I have to.
You've got,
I
you've
know,
got
I'm
another
trying-
meeting coming up
I
at
know,
6, so
trying to get-
I think it should wait.
Probably good that we're gonna not run over with another meeting coming in here
All
at
right.
6, right?
Do you wanna
Right.
look at dates?
Let's look at dates.
I thought you actually passed 3 though.
Huh?
Didn't you do personnel and student and community? I think those all got passed in the end.
Did the personnel one get passed?
We changed as much as possible. I had that as the only.
Oh, yes, okay, so we passed GBEE, and then, did we
PDC.
pass the student use of technology? No, we didn't.
You were holding off.
Yeah, we're holding off on that one. Deferred, yeah, we deferred that one, and then we passed KBC, so we got 2, okay, all right, cool. All right, do we have a way of, so, all right, so we're looking for a date in a couple weeks-ish? All right, so we're into May.
We have, the first week is our school committee meeting is on Thursday the 2nd, which is that's next week.
Okay. No, it's the week after next. Oh, no, it's next week, look at that, okay. So, so I am available, I could be available for like a 6 o'clock meeting on the 6th. Then my post call, or we could do a Thursday the 9th, earlier at 5.
I'd like to go with, the ninth.
John
Did you say 6 p.m. on the
has
ninth?
6 p.m. on the night. John, you, 6? And then I thought you said 5. I don't know.
Public meeting.
You have a classroom teacher
Um,
4 to 5:30 that day, that's that.
On which, the 9th?
On the 9th, classroom
Oh, yeah.
teacher rubric, it's that community of practice, that's 4 to
Yeah.
5:30.
Didn't I hear a preference for the 6th anyways?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I thought
Six.
Cheryl wanted the 6th.
Oh, I thought you said the
misspoke.
9th.
I thought Cheryl said the 9th.
I
too.
did, I misspoke, I wanted it the 6th.
You
Okay.
want it the 6th? Oh, wait, hold on, I might, okay, I'm gonna, how about the 7th?
The 7th?
Yeah,
What day is that?
That's
Tuesday.
that's a Tuesday.
I could do that.
Tuesday the 7th. You're good, John.
What time?
We could do 5:30. potentially.
That's fine.
5:30.
Mhm.
Bill, how are you with, Tuesday, May 7th at 5:30?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
All right, Tuesday, May 7th at 5:30. And I'll invite Bill Powers. Right, this is the one you would like him to attend?
If he's able to. But also, we can, if it just won't work with him,
Mm-hmm.
we can also, you know, like, let's make this tentative and we can,
Okay,
you know, I'm open, you know, we can,
we can.
by email chain, find
Okay.
another date and time that would work to be able to have him come.
Got it,
Because it's after hours and he's not normally working at that time, right?
Correct.
correct.
Unless we're under cyber attack from China or something like that.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, roll call vote. Cheryl,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
me, aye. We are adjourned, 5:51 PM.
Thanks,
Oh.
guys.
Thank you,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Thank you,
Have a
Bill.
good night.
See you Thursday.
See you Thursday.
See you
It's at
Thursday.
TWB.